All right, so folks, welcome back to our broadcast. In different formats, we did say we'd have a nightcap for you folks before we head off tonight, because we know, guys, firsthand that when we're dealing with our political, I won't call you political junkies, but we know that y'all love your politics, and so before you guys head off to bed, we got a nightcap for you wonderful folks. We got a couple things to spin at you guys for a couple minutes, and then we're out of your hair so that you guys can go ahead and have a fantastic rest of the evening. So we gotta send off for y'all. And while I'm talking to you folks, I'm sharing the live as well to a couple places. I'm on my phone at the back end, and I'm smashing the emoji button as well. Good to see quite a few of you joining us again, folks. Really delighted to have you guys here. And just before we head off, I want to discuss a couple other things with us this evening. And as I said, when we come on at 8 o'clock, 8:15, it's very fast paced, and I look forward to slowing down for some obvious reasons. If you joined our broadcast this morning, I told you a very, very, very eventful Father's Day I had, and I had to be catching my breath. I'm sharing the live at my end, folks. Forgive me. I'm sharing the live at my end too. I had a very, very eventful Father's Day, and I was catching my breath at the end of it. Forgive me for be doing this on the fly, but as I said, I'm sharing the live at my end as well. I'm not just asking. I'm about finished, and I'll stop being rude. As my little son usually says, he says, "Daddy, you're being rude." Perhaps, guys, let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. Good to have so many of you back on the live. Tammy Gibbs says you have our attention. Homi says hit the thumbs up on the YouTube, the share, and hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. Correct, and share the live. Thank you very much, Tammy, and Beatrice, and Homi, and Terrell, and all the other folks who've joined us, all of the political animals. Look, I want you all to know something. I love to work. I didn't realize it until my wife pointed out. I love to work. I love being home after work, but I love to work. I love to work. And when I'm working, I want to give it my all. All right? Terrence, I hope it's the same for you and Tammy, especially the guys, Calvis. I don't know guys who like sitting around doing nothing. I love to work. I love to work. I love to work. I love to see the paychecks too. Veronica, Vernick, how I sung there. Terrence, Linden, Carlton. I love to work, and not only loving to work, I love the rewards of hard work as well. You put in the work, and you must get the rewards for that. Before coming on, Tammy says you're not a loafer. Yeah, I love to work. I was thinking, if I wasn't on, I'd be trying to read something, follow up on something, see what's happening someplace. You're haunted. So, Colvis, besides being haunted, now let's say come on and host a program. Do something productive. Staceyana, good to have you on the live. Stacey and Soul, Beatrice, Randa's back here, Terrence, and I know some of y'all like me. Some of y'all beneath the covers and you all peeping. And as long as we got people to watch, we're going to have a couple things to say. As we were coming on, Renella and Roslyn, good night to you. Mrs. Ford, good night to you. Roslyn says, hi, in Roslyn's voice. Hi. Good evening to all of you. Folks, as I was coming on tonight, as I said, I was busy minding other people's business. I was peeping in on the Mark Bench Cup program, and I was trying to follow the discussion there and reminded justice for Adriana Young. You know, a lot of things might be being said and so on. I don't want to get into all of that. While Mark focuses on one thing, I could focus on something else, and Burr could focus on something else, and Dr. Hines focus on something else, and but it's all pulling in the same direction. Kadaki focused on something else. But as I was watching Mark coming on, I was reminded yet again, justice for Adriana Young. We remember the night of April 23rd, like it was yesterday, the morning of April 24th, body in the pool. That body wasn't in the pool before. But I want to limit my commentary on this matter because we can be on for like a half hour. We already elapsed 5 minutes. Half an hour, 35 minutes. It's a nightcap. You know, you don't drink whole night. This is a little something for you to sleep better. So, folks, justice for Adriana Young. I wanted to point that out as we start tonight, that I was peeping in on Mark's program and I was following along in the discussion. Justice for Adriana. I don't want to get into who right and who wrong on the other issues that are on the periphery of this one. Suffice it to say, justice for Adriana Young. I want to limit my comments to that. But folks, moving right along. Did you guys know that today is the commemoration of the Elmore martyrs? Did you guys know that? 77 years ago. 77 years ago. My God, how time just whooshes by so fast. 77 years ago, those workers were killed in a protest activity. You know, and we reflect on their sacrifice, as we must. You know, we reflect on their sacrifices. But you know what? I was listening to a news broadcast earlier, and I was listening to Zulfikar Mustafa extolling all of the virtues of workers' rights. Y'all know PPP is do this thing, right? Y'all know how the PPP are want to do this thing. Let me tell you a little bit about the PPP. Let me tell you a little bit about the PPP's playbook. Not plenty, not enough. Just a little bit from the PPP's playbook. These folks would kill you, come at your funeral, cry. And y'all know the other part. They would fight you family to read the eulogy. They would fight your family to read the eulogy. That's how them boys operate. Fight your family. So as I was listening to them talking about workers' rights and how they always champion workers' rights, like in my mind, I could see a couple of things. I could see the London nurses who still trying to get that money that the PPP deduct from their salaries because they were in strike. Even though a court has said that those nurses should get that money. I was thinking about that when I was listening to Zulfikar trying to make me something. You know what else I was thinking about? I don't know if you all remember this teachers' union case. When the teachers strike, for how many ever weeks it was, and the government was trying so desperately to break the back of that strike. I was thinking of this teachers' union case that came before the High Court. And some of what the court said about this government. And so when I heard Zulfikar, as one farmer called him the other day, pronounced his name, emphasizing on the latter part, Zulfikar, I saw the playbook. They kill you, cry at your funeral, and then they'd fight your family, Stacyanos Toby, they'd fight your family, Dolly, they'd fight your family, Tommy, Michael, they'd fight your family to radiology. They'd fight all of them. But I want to remind you for a couple of minutes. We're 10 minutes in, leave it at that. I wanted to remind you all for a couple of minutes of some of what the court said about this PPP government that just extolling their virtues in fighting for workers' rights in this country. These are the people who did not want to remit the union dues to the GTU in an effort to break the back of the workers' strike. These were the people who said the workers had no right to strike. So this case from the GTU, just a few months ago, pertained to workers' right, in particular the right to strike and collective bargaining. Those two issues, among others, but those were the two main ones. The right to strike and collective bargaining. Now, here's some of the court found, folks. Here's some of the court found. The court found that this right to strike, it is constitutionally protected. You remember we talked about rights that are constitutionally protected? Like voting, prisoner or no prisoner. Every Guyanese got a right to vote. That is protected by the Constitution. That's a, you can't easily take away that right. A constitutionally protected right. That's what the court says, this right to strike. So when I heard them talking about their track record on defending workers' right, I was like, where was this prowess in defending workers' right for the nurses in Linden and for the teachers? Quite recently, the court says it is constitutionally protected. The court went on to say that when read in conjunction with other aspects of the Constitution, and when considering international human rights instruments, this right was enshrined in the Constitution. It is even more fixed in the Constitution, this right to strike. The court goes on to say that all of these international law and conventions, the development of the human rights jurisprudence, all point towards recognizing the right to strike as an essential element in collective bargaining. So I'm building up to what the court said about the government. I'm building up to that. So the court says there was a well-established jurisprudence on the right to strike. And in this case, the court went on to state that they found that the no work, no pay principle was not applicable in this case. For those of you who are now joining us, we're reflecting on some of the thoughts of the PPP just today as we commemorate the Elmore martyrs, as we commemorate their sacrifice. Them boys run out and say, they like public servants, they like workers. But yet, just a few short months ago, they were weighed and they were found wanting. The court went on to say, right? To deny pay to striking workers was deemed unfit for the context of a lawful and justified strike in Guyana. The court went on to say that the teachers' union strike, that the PPP tried all ways and how to break and to dismantle, the court says the strike was legal and justified, the teachers' union strike. You remember in several instances through the Ministry of Labor and the labor officer, the PPP said the strike was illegal. The High Court said the strike was justified. The strike was legal. Right? But coming down to what I really want to hit on with this government that we got. They said the evidence presented in the court, this is the court in its judgment speaking, the evidence presented in the court showed a pattern of disregard for the union's right to bargain. This is the GTU. The government, by extension, showed a disregard. This same PPP government showed a disregard for the union's right to bargain, the court said, which included a failure to meet with the union and the government unilaterally imposing salary increases and disregarding the agreed upon dispute resolution mechanism. This is what the court said about the PP government. That today talking about how they love workers, talking about how they love the Guyanese public servant. Here the court went on to say that the government's decision to disregard, right? The government decision rather to discontinue the deduction and remittance of union dues from the teacher salary was unconstitutional, discriminatory, and unlawful. Remember, if the union's not getting the dues, then the union can provide adequate strike relief to the teachers. So even though the ministry and the government was withdrawing the dues, they were not remitting it to the union. The court said a couple of months ago that the government, its actions were unconstitutional in that regard, discriminatory and unlawful. These same folks that today prancing around in Enmore, prancing around in Le Repentir, talking about how they love public servants, they love workers in this country. But the law found them wanting just a short while ago. And finally on this issue, before it changed pace, the court found that this decision was specifically targeting GTU. The government not remitting the dues. It was specifically targeting GTU because it was remitting the dues of other unions that represent other categories of public servants. So the court says it was discriminatory because it was not a national policy for the government not to remit dues to unions in general. It was just GTU they were trying to spite. The court says that made it discriminatory. And then boys could come now and tell you, oh, we love you all. Look what we're going to do for workers. 8% this year, 9% next year, 5%. We love you all. We love you all. And finally, on this note, folks, and again, I said, I'm here because I saw Sophie prancing along today. Finally, on this note, the court says that the government's actions were deemed arbitrary, unreasonable, taken without prior consultation with the union, and in violation of the principles of natural justice. All of that I say about the PP government, you know. Imagine all of that they said about the PP government. And Irfan is want to come around us funny because we don't remind Irfan how arbitrary, unreasonable, discriminatory, unconstitutional they are. And what the court says in this Guyana Teachers Union case, they have said over and over and over and over in several other instances. And that is why, look, don't allow them to come around you funny. Don't do it. Don't do it. That is why in particular when I saw Irfan quite recently coming wrong with funny. You hear me? I was taken aback. Don't let Zulfi come wrong with funny. Don't let it do it. I was taken aback, folks. I was taken to the back. Y'all remember this?
Mr. President, some of the people who are joining the PPP were some of the people who you were part of the camp that you say allegedly rigged the 2020 elections.
Yes, that's a great question.
So then, why are you so accommodating to these people?
So that's an excellent question.
And now praising them.
No, Shabral, hold on. That's an excellent question. You notice I said just now, those who are preaching about moral compass have not seek forgiveness from the Guyanese people here.
Yeah. He got moral compass. Hey, folks, if I got moral compass, here if I'm talking here, but moral compass. Here the court talk about them. Unconstitutional. Huh? He got moral compass. Discriminatory, illegal actions, unlawful actions. They say got moral compass, unreasonable, arbitrary, in violation of. He got a moral compass. That's why I was so happy. Y'all hear me? When our sister Manza unplugged on him, he called your name and she unplugged. She unplugged on him. Like he hasn't been unplugged on in a little while now. You know? Sometimes you gotta let these people know what's the order, you know. Sometimes you gotta let them know what is the order. He talk about the election and alleged rigging. Mind you, the last election was 5 years ago. Tons of charges they brought before our brothers and sisters. They can't get one conviction yet. And he could stand there, you know, with all the rigging they setting up at GCOM and point a finger across the political line. The wicked. Again, that is why I was so happy when a man unplugged on them. You all forget? You better stop calling the man's name over there.
These are facts that are easily researched and proven. And you have the brass face to come and sit there and lie to the people of Guyana and deliver it in such a pious manner. Look, Irfan, give me an easy time, because I will tell you, this nonsense has got to stop. Listen, he spoke about us being anti-rule of law. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Irfan has the gall to call people who have been calling for impartial investigations into Adriana Young's murder anti-rule of law. You have the gall to call people who have been calling for an impartial inquiry into the murder of Keon Fudgeney anti-rule of law. You have the gall to call people who have been calling for police reform anti-rule of law. You are the man that called the president of the Police Service Commission, the chair of the Police Service Commission, to say, put your boys there. Your boys who don't deserve to be there. And you could stand up to tell people that they're what? Anti-rule of law? Your speaker in the National Assembly banned the word corruption. Huh? And you want to tell people about their lack of moral compass? The same person who we can't find the university that he got this first degree from? Look, Irfan, listen to me. Leave me out of the nonsense. Because if you come to me with foolishness, I will check you every time. I'll check you every time. And you have no compunction about coming to talk about moral compass and moral compass. And I'm glad Dennis Shabral asked you, why are you embracing all of these so-called riggers? We have got to understand that the time for lies being thrown down and forced down the throat of the Guyanese people is over. The police force is in a mess. You have it in a mess. You have it in a mess. You have senior police officers being sanctioned, and you want to talk about people being anti-rule of law.
Give us easy time, I beg you. I beg you, Irfan. Give me an easy time. Give me easy time. I think that phrase is made popular by Odessa. Odessa Primus. Give me an easy time. We're begging you, Irfan, please. Give us easy time. We just give you a little nightcap, you know. We don't have one night. It's not a light prayer meeting. Not tonight. Just give me a little nightcap. This nonsense got to stop. Look what the court said about them. Unreasonable, illegal, unconstitutional, in violation of natural justice. Case after case, you will find like this. Case after case. And that is why I was listening to Lyndon Mayer quite recently. He was on a live program talking about some of the challenges and some of the advances of the municipality, some of the successes of the municipality there in Region 10 in Linden, the capital there, and some of the strides they've been making. And one of the things that really resonated with me said, you got your options, you know. Don't operate like a people who don't have options. You guys got a couple options.
We now have to come to, as we convince people and they know these issues, what are the options and alternatives before them? And what is before them come this 2025 1st of September election? We are the option. We are the alternative. The People's National Congress, the APNU, the coalition, that is the alternative for government. That's it. The issues are known. People know, no matter what you say in this country.
I'm so engrossed in what Chairman Salman is saying. I realize the video finished. You got some option. People know what's going on. You all have a couple options. Folks, you all know by now I'm coalition through and through. I won this coalition. I'm still going to support my coalition brothers and sisters in this election here. We got to all pull in the same direction. I know some of y'all taking long because y'all worrying about power and not policy, according to former President David Granger. You know, who can get what and so on. Listen, once we in, we win. Once we in, we win. We figure out the rest of we get there. You know, it's good having a plan and all that. I know we got one. But while you are trying to figure out, you know, who can get one, sir, could we do some work, please? Could we continue the work on the ground? Boots on the ground. So you got option. People know what's going on in this country. You hear people talking. Girls since he went and he never come back. One time he visit, he never come back. We have a couple minutes left, folks. But Chairman didn't leave us without a hope, you know, as the good book says. Don't act like a people who don't have a hope. You know, we got a hope. Bless God. we got a hope. You know, he said, new government is what's needed. We got to vote out these guys resoundingly. We got to go in that ballot and remember all the things on the ballot. Adriana Young on the ballot. The Guyana Teachers Union case on the ballot. And you guys can rattle off a whole host of other issues that on the ballot. Some of you have family members caught in the crosshairs of this government. Quindam Bacchus on the ballot, the Henry Boys, Harris Singh, or in Boston on the ballot. You call your own, all those infractions, you all know by your heart. Bramia Primary School on the ballot. You got Bellevue Hospital on the ballot. Rudy Small, former administrator, Linden Hospital, here on the ballot too. Darren Lal on the ballot. All them. May Thomas on the ballot as well. Manik Chan, Ozempic, all them. Cafe on the ballot, folks. Chavez, a new government. A new government. Fed up with y'all, man. New government. Take a listen.
The option is a new government. That is what you'll find in the Partnership for National Unity. That is what you'll find in the biggest partner in that party, which is the PNC. But many people think, you see, we are under this enclosed meeting at the moment, and those issues we just talk about, how they're being addressed, those issues themselves, how they're being addressed. Every time you look at government's approach to addressing any one of those matters, it is always unilateral. It is always with no consideration of the democratic approach of consulting people, of including them and allowing them to participate in the decisions that are affecting them. No meaningful consultation. So again, you can ask yourselves, are you satisfied with Venezuela handling? No. Are you satisfied with cost of living? No. Are you satisfied with corruption? No. Are you satisfied with the handling of justice? No. Are you satisfied with the handling of governance? No. Because they are not the government that allow these things to work. And you and I know that democracy is more than free and fair election. Democracy is also about good governance. Democracy is about rule of law. The law must work for all. That's democracy.
Yeah. Pay some power. Mayor of Linden, Shamra Solomon, pay some power. Giving you so much in the capsule there. You hear the whole thing top to bottom. Top to bottom. I see Crystal says, APNU WP all the way. I like the phrase, the APNU coalition. All the way. All the way, one big tent going down the road. Simone Graves says the whole PPP, see, on the ballot, real thing. Simone, you hear the whole thing, top to bottom. All in on the live. Folks, we can leave it there. We just promised a little nightcap. You know? That's what these podcasts can be. By the time we hear we gone. You can't blink. You can miss something half a done gone past, you know. You know, we're at 11 o'clock. Going to talk to my wife now for the next hour. Tell her how my day was. You know. I'm going to give her her own show now. Thing left me breathless last night. I'm going to give her own show now. Folks, have a great evening. Hold your family close, eh? Politics is everything. It's a lot, but it's everything. Family is it, boy. Family, when this politics done with your family, you know, some of you all in bed right now, you know, you haven't touched your body in a long time. Oh, rub your head a little bit now, you know, rub your one good foot now. You look at the girl a long time. You just said politics. Oh, give your wife a little attention, man. All right? You know, big people is talking early. You know, yeah, give each other a little attention, and then they'll be talking. Tracy, Lester, Simone, and all the other folks, have a fantastic evening. That's our time here. This is like something. By the time we come on, if you blink, that's it. Watch them. See you guys at the next broadcast. Stay safe. See you guys at the next one. Stay safe. We out.